Good morning, St. Kitts and Nevis, and welcome to another episode of Voices here on WinFM 98.9. I'll be your host for today, Devon Cornelius. I want to say a special good morning to all the hard-working people out there. Today is Friday, is a blessed Friday. If you're having a good day, continue to have a good day. Enjoy life, live life to the fullest, and give thanks for life. So yes, this is Voices for Friday. This is Voices for Friday, October 9th, 2020. We are going to wait for our guests to come on in so that we can have this discussion. The discussion will be Yes, sorry about that. So the discussion will be about mental health for all, greater investment, greater access, everyone, everywhere. Mental health for all, greater investment, greater access, everyone, everywhere. And I will just allow my guest to introduce herself and just tell the listening public who she is. Good morning.
Good morning, Devon. I'm Zara Jacobs. I'm here on behalf of the St. Kitts Mental Health Association. We're very happy that WinFM was able to accommodate us today. Dr. Crawford and Dr. Stanley will be joining us shortly. We actually are just coming from JNF where we gave out some care packages to patients on the psychiatric ward. So it's just been a rush day today. So
yes.
We are here and we're happy to talk about mental health.
Awesome. So you mentioned you guys did an activity sometime this morning at the JNF hospital. What was that about?
So this week, as you said, the theme is mental health for everyone, greater access, greater investment. And we have done a series of activities. But today, the actual day for World Mental Health Day is Saturday, the 10th of October. And we try to do something for the patients at the psychiatric ward every year. In the past, we have had lunches. One day we had a fun day down at the Dr. Arthur Lake Day Treatment Center. And this year, because of COVID, we had to, constrain the activities to make it a little smaller. And so we got care packages for all the patients on the wards with toiletries and snacks, just so, making the stay a little more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the other activities that you guys will be doing in celebration of mental health?
Yes. So as you can imagine, this year everything is a little smaller, but we have made sure that we're on radio, we're on social media. Next week, we're going to be screening a film that was commissioned by us 2 years ago by a filmmaker of Kittitian heritage who's based in the UK. Her name is Alicia Sinjust, and the film is Speak Your Mind, and it's about a teenager who's struggling with mental health issues following the death of her brother. So, maybe I'm talking a little too much about it, going into too many details, but, there's been a death in her family. She's acting a little differently, and it's about her accessing services through the school and then later at the hospital. So it's just the idea that mental health affects people young, old, everywhere. So as we say, and we're going to be screening it at Vibe, so just kind of bringing it, as we said, access for all.
Awesome. So would you be able to give a little bit more insight as to the topic? It says greater investment, greater access everywhere, everyone. Would that be you or our guest here, Dr.
Crawford.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be here to talk about mental health. And anytime we get the opportunity to bring awareness about mental health issues, we like to take it. I like to take it. Yes, so the theme for World Mental Health this year is mental health for all, greater investment, greater access. And what that is saying is, if resources are being poured into the services for mental health, if we are able to give or offer more services for mental health, we might be able to meet the needs of the population. Okay? When we think about mental health and we look at what the budget is for mental health in many countries, the World Health Organization is saying that only 3% of the health budget is allocated to mental health in the low-income countries. However, in the higher-income countries, we have about a 5% being allocated to mental health. Now, some countries might just be having 1%. Okay? So what we are saying, if we invest more, if we put more into the budget for mental health, we would be able to offer more services to the population.
So, is this something that your department, the mental health department, would like to see happen, where more focus is given towards mental health?
Of course, and that's one of the reasons why we are here.
Yes.
We are bringing different issues about mental health, and sometimes people think that when we talk about mental health, it's just about the disorders and the causes and things like that. But it's important that we bring awareness to the public about how much is invested in mental health. So of course we are hoping that persons, not just government but non-governmental organizations, can start making donations and start pouring into the mental health services, because there's no health without mental health. We are just as important as physical health, and there should not be no disparity. So for things like the national health insurance that is coming on board, we are hoping that mental health would receive equal compensation as other physical illnesses. That way, persons would feel comfortable coming and seeking services for their mental health needs, and knowing that, okay, there's a compensation that I can get back. I can get back something, not just the little that they're getting back now. Okay? We want it to be on par with what is given back for physical health conditions.
Do you have anything to add?
I mean, Dr. Crawford is talking about investment from government and investment from private sector. I would even add that what we want is some valuing from the public as well, greater investment from the public. Sometimes because mental health is seen as such a thing we don't want to talk about, there's so much shame attached to it, so much secrecy attached to it. If people were to talk honestly about maybe their own lives or the lives of people very close to them, I think we would see that we are all invested in people being mentally well, right? We're all invested, whether or not it's a sibling, an uncle, a cousin. All of us have been touched by someone whose mental health has been off balance in a significant way. So we have to figure out, how can we invest? How can we support people as they go through these things? So it's the investment of money. It's also the investment of time and the investment of support for those in our lives.
Awesome. My question for you, would the department be embarking upon some kind of workshop to have let the public to have a greater appreciation of understanding the importance of mental health?
Last year, the theme was suicide prevention, and we held a workshop for nurses and nursing attendants on suicide prevention, just for information on how they can deal with people who come onto the ward or in A&E. And we try to do little things here and there. One of the things that we are we did with NEMA is that we held a workshop on psychological first aid. So the idea is, when people are in distress in a disaster, much like, we tend to think of disasters as hurricanes alone, but we have experienced quite a disaster
COVID.
these last 6
Yes.
months. So we talk about psychological first aid. So people who are on the front line, and it doesn't have to be an EMT or a nurse, it can just be anybody. The principles of looking, listening, and linking. So we have to look to see what people are going through. We have to listen to their stories, and we have to link them to their services. So we have done some workshops with NEMA on this and their shelter workers, and it's going to be rolling out as we continue into the hurricane season. So we do workshops But I guess I don't know that we've ever done a workshop for the general public. Dr. Crawford, have we?
No, we haven't. We have always worked with specific groups of persons. And because we're in COVID now, to COVID-19, we have to be mindful of the restrictions that we have. So what you would find happening, we would do presentations via Zoom. Okay, so in terms of in-person workshop, we're not doing that at this moment, and we will see for the future. But as of now, we are doing training, awareness activities, etc. via Zoom.
Because even in the last 6 months, I know Mrs. Blake, who is the director of the counseling center, she did a workshop with a Seventh-day Adventist men's group. I know that there was a workshop with a mother's group at Antioch Baptist Church. Dr. Crawford, I don't know how many talks you have given in places, but we've also done workshops with Rotary. So we are out and about, and really, workplaces call us. We went to Social Security. We were at Cajola. So even if someone reaches out to us, we do not hesitate to get out there to reinforce that mental health is a real thing and it's affecting all of us.
It was just Sunday. I was at the K Nursing Agency, and made a presentation about depression, and this was to workers and some of persons in the community. So not just health persons, it was workers, some nurses were there, and persons, in the community. And things like these would help to bring awareness.
I'm just remembering I was at the children's home the other day with their staff, and as I'm telling you, we're out and about.
Yeah, out and about, We have a small team, but, we are really out there. And we continue to be out there. Most times you would hear us during the week of activities. We tend to have quite a lot of activities that have been aired. But other than that, throughout the year, we are meeting privately with many business places, organization groups, etc.
Awesome. So we're in the hurricane season, which began in June and should end sometime in November. Has the mental health department collaborated, or probably in the past, or plans to collaborate with NEMA or disaster preparedness officials in terms of preparing the teams for the unfortunate? Let me say that.
Well, last year we officially formed what we call the St. Kitts Mental Health and Psychosocial Support Committee. And the goal of that committee was to have like an oversight of all the activities that are related to mental health and activities that would be geared towards disaster or emergency situations, because it's not always we have a disaster, but it could be an emergency situation. And we know that disaster and emergency situations come down on NEMA. And as part of that committee, we have a representative from NEMA also on that committee. So we have been working with NEMA, and even during the COVID-19 early stages, you would have seen me on the NEOC making presentations as it relates to mental health, because what we have to realize, these disasters, emergency situations, they do affect our mental health.
Yes.
Okay, so even with this pandemic, while that there might not be loss of property, etc., we have that anxiety that was in the air, that uncertainty that was in the air, and that was causing quite a lot of stress, not just to adults, but also to children. So we did quite a lot of work there with NEMA.
And how is that for the mental health department, handling those persons who would have been mentally, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, mentally stressed because of the COVID-19, because many persons would have lost their jobs, and that could cause some serious stress. So how did the department deal with something like that?
Well, I will say, so we're the association, we're not the department, so we're separate to government, but we're many of us do work for government.
So, we have different roles, overlapping roles.
Yes. So I work with the Ministry of Community Development, Dr. Crawford works with the Ministry of Health, And so we have seen a lot of well, I mean, Dr. Crawford, I assume as well, at the counseling center, we've seen a lot of people who have come distressed because of issues related to job loss. Dr. Crawford, I heard you said there's been no property loss, but you know, for many people that might actually be, yes.
Rent.
People have had to give up things that they,
yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm. So,
maybe nothing damaged it,
Yeah,
but you can no longer have it. So we are definitely seeing a lot of people coming in with stress and anxiety related to that. And this is something that Mrs. Blake often talks about, you know, we have to normalize that feeling badly at this time is normal.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that is a big challenge for people. We think we're supposed to feel good all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes we are going through it, and we literally are going through it. So it's not always a case that, oh, you just need to feel better, or sometimes we just have to go through it, and sometimes we need support in terms of how to manage that, and that's why our services are here. And we hope that more people become aware and value the service, because I think sometimes people don't value the practice of talking about what's going on with you and getting direction from someone who is trained in how to manage things.
Now, Dr. Crawford did mention that you guys would have collaborated with NEMA in the past. There's an activity happening tomorrow Saturday, in terms of disaster preparedness for the St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross Society and other stakeholders here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Would the association be participating in this activity?
Well, our person at NEMA, the main person we deal with is Mrs. Petty, Eureka Petty, and she's been very helpful in linking us. So we were involved in the training of the workers, but we're not involved in this Red Cross effort tomorrow. But I'm sure we will be called for some other aspect. It's an ongoing, very close relationship.
Yeah, because as I said before, mental health and psychosocial support is a key component in terms of responding to disasters. Okay, it's a key component. So we would always be working together.
And how is that like? How is it like in terms of preparing these people for, as I said, the unfortunate? Because it's quite different with the COVID-19, which I would say is probably a man-made disaster versus preparing somebody for a natural disaster. Because we're still not out of the woods. This is still, you know, the hurricane season.
But in terms of preparation, what we do, we give ideas about how to cope, which is important. Okay, so we would discuss different coping skills, talk with the person, get an idea of how they used to cope before, because that is important. Because if they have a skill already, you know, we would want them to use that skill, and we would also give ideas as to how to cope. So the main preparation would be in terms of helping people to cope.
And also recognizing how they're coping in ways that are counterproductive to them doing well. A lot of times we don't realize that our bodies are telling us that we're not feeling well, right? So have you been noticing a lot of headaches? Are you having any body pains? Are you having difficulty concentrating? Are you having difficulty in your interpersonal relationships? Just so you can realize the impact of your stress on all aspects of your life.
Okay, the theme says greater access. Dr. Crawford, could you speak to that? Or anyone would want to take this?
Greater access. Okay. In terms of greater access, we are talking specifically about people having the resources available, and persons being aware of the resources. So it means that we would have education about what resources we have available, and talking about making sure we reach all those vulnerable groups, because there are several groups that are at risk. For example, there are groups of persons who suffer with chronic illnesses, the youth, the women and children. So there are several groups that's available. And what we want to make sure is that all these different persons are able to access the services. So in terms of greater access, we take into consideration also the availability of the services. Okay, and for that we would need human resource. Okay, we would need human resource, because it's all well for us to say, okay, we have the counseling center, we have JNF hospital that you come and get counseling at, and then when you reach there, there's a waiting list. There is a waiting list because one psychologist at JNF, three.
Two and a half counselors.
Two and a half.
I'm only there half the week.
Is at the counseling center. And then, unfortunately, what we have at times is like a waiting list. Or for me, we have so many patients that the time to see them, there's a stretch, a gap that, I might not feel so comfortable with. But to meet the demand of the persons we have, it's like that. That's what we do to resolve the issue. So we're talking about awareness of the services and availability of the services and the human resource to meet these services, and making sure that all these at-risk groups out there are aware of what we are doing so they can reach out and get help.
I mean, one of the things we're very fortunate in St. Kitts is that the service is free through government. That's a wonderful thing, because I think we take for granted the free service, because if you were like in other countries to see a therapist, it's sometimes $200 US an hour. Like the rate is just, well, maybe astronomical for me. So we are fortunate that the service is free, but as Dr. Crawford says, the challenge is that, well, maybe because it's free, the wait list is long and it can take a little while. So I like to encourage people to think about this as a profession. It's a viable profession. We need people in it, and we need people to specialize as well. There's so many areas that could deal with attention, like, someone who's specifically dealing, well, not one person, several people who specifically deal with children.
Good.
There are areas of geriatric psychology, people who deal with aging populations. There are people who there are a couple of people I know who did forensic psychology, or people who want to focus on the prison population, people who want to focus on adolescents. Like, there are ways in which you can specialize, and we can make this profession really serve those around us.
And these challenges that we are having, it's not just unique to our federation, okay? Because the World Health Organization is saying, listen, in the low-income countries, there's a treatment gap. Okay, there's a treatment gap. 85% of the persons who really need help don't get it, okay? In the higher income countries, it's a 50% gap. Now, that is still bad, but, we would have preferred to be on the latter, on the latter end. So it's very important, the investment, because when we invest more, then we might be able to lower that treatment gap.
Awesome. So we're talking about greater access, for persons to get the help that they need. How do you reach your target audience? How do you reach your target audience in terms of, you're going to have those persons who they're probably afraid, they're shy, they don't want to go to the department or the association because they don't want their friend to see them, and for their friend to say, all manner of things, because it's a touchy topic. And so people are very mindful of how they go about talking about this topic. How do you reach and get to those persons?
And I hear you alluding to the stigma that is associated with mental illness, and that is so real. That is so real, and that is why you find that we do programs like these, because we want persons to really see that mental illness and physical illness, there's no big difference, because with physical illness we go to all the doctors that we need to go to, okay? And with mental illness we want them to realize that this is part of health, okay? This is part of health. So that's why we would do programs like these on the radio, and we would meet with smaller organizations, we would meet with smaller groups, etc. And we find when we have these interactions with groups and on the radio, we tend to get a boost in the number okay, of calls we get for appointments. In addition to that, we all have a hotline too. We have a cell phone number that we can be reached at for the psychological service at JNF, also at the counseling unit too, where persons can call and get a feel out, you know, so to speak, as to what to expect if they have any concerns. And we also speak a lot about confidentiality, which is important because, you know, we come from a society where people used to think, okay, whatever happens to them or whatever happens in their house, it stays there. You're not supposed to take it out.
Yes.
So
and some people still think that way today.
Yes, they still think that way today. Or some person thinks, okay, if they're going to something, they are weak. So there are a lot of misconceptions out there too about mental illness. So we do a lot of awareness. We do a lot of activities to bring awareness to mental health issues, and we try our best to make persons know that, you know, it's okay. It's okay, okay? And, you know, we are going to work with them, and at the end of the day, our goal is the same, which is to help to return them back to their normal daily functioning and feel it much better.
So at this time, I would want to welcome Dr. Stanley.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, or, well, it's noon now.
It is.
Do you have any opening remarks about the discussion here today?
Well, I'm just chiming in on all that has been discussed, but first and foremost, I'm Dr. Stanley. I work along with Dr. Sanchez, who is a psychiatrist for the island. We do almost everything along with the counselors for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and I joined the team last year, and it has been a pleasure. It has been also an eye-opener for me, you know, because you just hear about psychiatry, you just hear about psychology, and you don't understand the depth of which it has and how it can impact the society if it is not carefully nurtured. All right, so yes, I'm here. I'm just listening.
And we're so happy. We're so happy to have Dr. Stanley in the room with us and on the team.
Yes.
So happy.
Yes.
So happy.
Yes.
Dr. Stanley, you said psychiatry and psychology. There's some persons that don't really know the difference. Could you, just for information's sake, could someone
Okay.
explain?
Okay. So one of the key differences are, number one, the training is different. For psychiatry, you go to medicine. Okay, for psychology, you don't have to take that route. So psychiatry, you have to be a medical doctor first, and then you can specialize into psychiatry. Okay, psychology, as I said, you can have a first degree in psychology, or a degree in social work, a degree in another aspect, and you can move on to have a master's and doctorate degree in psychology. Okay, so the preparation is one. Another difference is that because of the preparation, which is medical based, you would find that the psychiatrists would do psychotropic intervention, and by that I mean they would give treatment in terms of medication and that kind of thing. The psychologists, we tend more to focus on talk therapy, psychotherapy, a lot of screening, psychological screening, etc. So the difference is, as I said, the preparation, difference also in the functioning. Psychiatrists, some of them do counseling also, but you would find mostly the psychologists and the counselors who would do the counseling and the psychotherapy.
And really, the two work hand in hand, because sometimes you might you might come and see me for counseling, and then I might notice that based on the screenings or your experience that there's not enough progress being made. So I would want to refer you to the psychiatrist, to the psychiatric team, so you can get a little bit more support. And I know medication is a thing that we really run from. People don't like it. I mean, Dr. Stanley can talk more about that.
Yes, I can, definitely. Yes, I can.
But you know, when I start raising it with people, they say, not me. Nobody gonna say I'm crazy. Don't give me no injection. And I really try to explain to people that there's a wide array of medications that are available to people, and because everyone thinks what will happen is if I go on medication, people will know.
Yeah.
That they're just going to be able to see all of a sudden that you're on medication. And I try to explain that there's so many different things, and there are people who are on medication for things and you would never know.
And they think, oh, if they go on medication, it's for life.
Yes.
That's another thing, it's for life. So they
And it will get worse.
Yes, that's another
That's
thing.
the main thing. You hear a lot. I'm not going on any crazy injection. And I'm not going on up to, I think last night I was discussing with someone and they were telling me, if I come to the hospital, you're not going to dig me with any crazy injection. I said, there's no such thing as a crazy injection, all right? No such thing, so let's get that straight. Initially.
Growing up, I always heard about this crazy injection.
Yes, this
so
No such
crazy
thing. No such
please
thing.
provide some a clarity on that.
Clarification,
Yes.
right, definitely.
And for some disorders, best practice is a combination of the counseling, the psychotherapy, and the medication.
They go hand in hand.
Okay,
Hand in
they go hand in hand depending on the level of the stress, mild, moderate, severe, and things like that. Best practice is a combination. But as I said, the medication is not necessarily for life. It's not for life.
Dr. Stanley, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the topic? Mental health for all, greater investment, greater access, everyone, everywhere.
Well, first of all, let me say that mental health in any country, in any nation, in any institution is most important. It's first and foremost important. All right. Now, why would I say that? First of all, if you are not functioning, if your mind is not functioning, then nothing can be done. All right. And I always say a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. I always say that, and now, being in psychiatry, I have more respect for psychiatry because I understand seeing patients, speaking with the doctors, just going through the whole rotation, that your mind is most important. All right. And we have to take care of our mind. We have to invest more in mental health, more in our mental health. In mental health for our nation, in mental health for the federation, in order for St. Kitts to move forward, as a developing country. And that's basically, it sums up most of what I would have to say upon mental health for all, greater investment, greater access. All right, it's just simply saying, if you invest in your health, then, I mean, all things are possible. There's no closed doors, there's no back steps. Everything is possible because once your nation is healthy, then there we go, we have a healthy one. So I thought about it last night, that question, and I knew it would come to me. I said, say something, think about something, because it's gonna ask you, and it did. But that's basically what I came up with, and I think, I share.
Yes, we agree.
Right, everyone will share the sentiment.
We agree with you because in health, the definition of health is a state of complete well-being, physical, mental, social well-being. Okay, so it's very important, that mental aspect. And that's why you will hear me talk a lot, to say there should not be no disparity between mental health and physical.
None whatsoever. And you find a lot of discrimination. And I try to always speak to my patients and speak to family members, relatives, as to exactly what mental health is, so that sort of discrimination, that stigma can get away from mental health. It's just as if you're going to Dr. Wilkinson, Dr. Woodley, it's just like surgery. It's just a part of medicine. You understand? So I think we should, I think the public should start seeing mental health from a different view and understand that it's nothing to be worried about, nothing that you should stigmatize. It's a part of taking care of who you are and making you better.
That is true.
Awesome, awesome. So at this time, we are going to take a short break for the headline news, and we will be right back.
You found the sound. 98.9. Win FM.
We now bring you the Win FM Headline News. The Win FM Headline News is brought to you by Caribbean Alliance, KDP Enterprises, The Grange, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tilly Walwyn, a local reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we've got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Delia Walwyn, people you can trust.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime and bitters. Live, love, be.
An earthquake with a magnitude of 5.1 jolted St. Kitts and Nevis in the wee hours of Friday. According to the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center, the earthquake was felt 82 kilometers northeast of St. Kitts and Nevis at approximately 12:14 a.m. The quake was located latitude 17.97 north and longitude 62.44 west at a depth of 10 kilometers. It was also felt 116 kilometers northwest of Antigua and Barbuda and 216 kilometers northwest of Guadeloupe. There were no reports of damage or injuries. General elections will be held in St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Thursday, November 5th, 2020. That announcement was made by the nation's Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, on Thursday, October 8th, 2020. Parliament, as at Friday, October 9th, has been dissolved and nomination day set for Tuesday, October 20th. More than 90,000 persons will be eligible to cast their vote on polling day in the 15 constituencies for the ruling Unity Labour Party ULP, the main opposition New Democratic Party NDP, and the Democratic Republican Party DRP, as well as the SVG Green Party SVGP. The ULP currently has majority of the seats in the House of Assembly, with 8 and 7 being held by the main opposition NDP. General elections were last held on December 9th, 2015, with a voter turnout of 73.37%, with the UOP receiving 34,222 votes against 30,974 for the NDP, 80 votes for the SVGP, and 153 for the DRP. In regional news, the European Union (EU) added 2 more Caribbean nations, Anguilla and Barbados, to its blacklist of tax havens. Anguilla and Barbados now join Trinidad and Tobago and the U.S. Virgin Islands on the blacklist. Anguilla and Barbados were included in the EU list following peer review reports published by the Global Forum on Transparency and Exchange of Information for Tax Purposes, which downgraded the ratings of Anguilla and Barbados respectively to non-compliant and partially compliant with the International Standard on Transparency and Exchange of Information on Request, a press release read in part. The Cayman Islands was removed after it passed the necessary reforms. Cayman was put on the EU blacklist in February this year. On the other hand, the government of Barbados said it is dismayed by the inclusion on the EU's blacklist. The renowned list was established in 2017 and now consists of 12 jurisdictions: American Samoa, Anguilla, Barbados, Fiji, Guam, Palau, Panama, Samoa, Seychelles, Trinidad and Tobago, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Vanuatu. Blacklisted jurisdictions face higher scrutiny, loss of access to EU funds, and damage to their reputations. The EU blacklist is next due for review and possible change in February 2021. The St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross Society and the National Emergency Operations Center, NEMA, are organizing a disaster preparedness exercise on Saturday, October 10th, 2020, to better equip stakeholders with the necessary knowledge and skill set to handle the possibility of a natural disaster. Telka Wallace, disaster coordinator of the St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross Society, gave details of the exercise.
This weekend, we are going to be looking at the flood hazard between the guts of College Street and Westbourne Gut.
Okay.
And we are looking at the potential effects of such an event. As such, we have brought in the volunteers from the Red Cross who have been trained in as disaster response team and national intervention team.
Okay.
In collaboration with NEMA and the NEMA districts, along with other stakeholders at the national level, such as the Fire and Rescue Services, the St. Kitts and Nevis Defence Force and Coast Guard, the police, traffic department, and public works, along with other entities that are being tested as part of this exercise.
The exercise will be carried out in accordance with the current COVID-19 regulations of physical and social distancing and the wearing of face masks. She said this exercise is for the stakeholders to be proactive in their approach in light of the rapid changes in the climate.
No, so in the past we would have conducted tests and they would have a surprise element. This time it's an announced test. Why is that?
It's announced because we want to have the aspect of the COVID being factored in, the social distancing,
Right.
the safety measures that we have to take in the event of such an event happening at this particular time. It's also announced to alleviate any fear within our populace. We want persons to observe and to see what is the correct thing to do at a time like this. We are also looking at the flood hazard warning system that is in Lower Monkey Hill, that that warning goes off when the water gets to a certain level. And so that is part of the mechanism that is going to be tested, the flood hazard warning system, and to see how far the sound can be heard,
Right.
and to look at the capacity of the flood hazard warning system, and to see where we can do an intervention to affect or to warn persons who are further downstream. Because at a time like this, when we are experiencing climate change, changes in the weather, extreme weathers, we want to be proactive in our approach to disaster risk management.
What area is going to be covered for the exercise?
The exercise is looking at different things. As I said, in the St. Peter's area, we want to hear how much person heard the warning.
Right.
Then further downstream, we want to look at the College Street gut and the Westbourne gut and look at the effects. We also want to look at the businesses on the Bay Road and within the area where we usually have flooding, like down by Social Security building area and up by that sometimes flood into other streets, including the ferry terminal.
Yes.
We want to look at the effects and what could happen in those areas, especially at a busy time when, Basti is full of people, and how can we make our people to be more aware and to look at safety measures in a time like this. I know NEMA, because I'm a long-standing employee of NEMA, and over the years NEMA have been propagating the information on flood hazard warning, because we have had the sad event of Social Security being flooded and of vehicles going out to sea.
Right.
We have also had a person who were washed out to sea.
Right.
And so I think this is a fitting time.
Telka Wallace, disaster coordinator of the St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross Society, was at the time providing an update on NEMA's Up to the Minute program.
Who is made responsible for the exercise in terms of funding?
The exercise is part of our funding that we got from IFRC. The St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross is being funded by the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Society through funding from AFDA, USAID Office of Foreign Disaster Assistance.
Okay.
And it is throughout the Caribbean, is capacity building initiative for national societies, that is the Red Cross national societies throughout the Caribbean region. And as such, it is building capacity in terms of quantity of volunteers. We would like to attract more volunteers to the Red Cross, and we would like to build their competencies in terms of responding to the emergencies and disaster events. So we are privileged to get this funding through the AFRC from USAID.
Thank you so very much, Telka Wallace, the disaster coordinator from St. Kitts Nevis Red Cross Society. I'm Vesta Southwell. Blessed.
A virtual concert featuring top Caribbean performers planned for Saturday, October 30th, themed One Caribbean, One Future, One Yard, aims to improve access to remote learning for Caribbean children in this season of COVID-19. The concert is the brainchild of the Trinidad and Tobago headquartered Ansa McCall Group, one of the largest conglomerates in the region, with diversified companies in the Caribbean, Europe, and North America, including Cara Brewery and the Ansa Merchant Bank. Ansa McCall has created a One Caribbean Future Fund where donations made prior and on the night of the event will be used to purchase technology to support home-based learning for school children. Anthony Sabga, Group Chief Executive Officer, at a press conference Thursday morning, October 8th, stated,
It'd be 8 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is being powered by the Ansa McCall Group of companies and is being produced by Ultimate Events Limited. Thus far, our initial investment and contribution towards this is in excess of $1.5 million. That is what we've invested to get the ball rolling. Viewers could expect, and what viewers can expect is a concert like no other virtual concert has ever been produced and delivered at this level. The event will feature an all-star cast of all the top regional and Caribbean talent artists and will be streamed live on social media and broadcasted live via our own CNC3. And we urge all you other media entities that are with us today to take it on. I want to also say that we are prepared to syndicate this show for free, given the importance of what the show is in service of.
Chief Legal and External Affairs Officer of Ansa McCall, Francis Bain Cumberbatch, said,
The Ansa McCall Foundation has set up a special and specific One Caribbean Future Fund. That fund will be operational from Friday, the 23rd of October, through the official One Yard website. That is oneyardcaribbean.com. Persons can donate using the secure online payment platform on this website from that date, or by simply texting to donate. The text to donate option will allow persons to donate any portion of the value of their subscription with their mobile provider to the One Caribbean Future Fund. Further information on the text to donate option will follow by week of Monday, 12th October.
This is the Carib Update News Service. I am Wendy Chateau reporting. St. Vincent and the Grenadines to hold general elections November 5. This is the big story we're tracking this hour on Friday, October 9, 2020. Details of this story and more straight ahead. Now for the details. St. Vincent and the Grenadines will vote in general elections on November 5. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves made the announcement last night.
My advice, Her Excellency Dame Susan Duggan, Governor General, is dissolving Parliament tomorrow, Friday, October the 9th. Nomination day will be on October the 20th, 2020. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Chief Medical Officer and other health professionals have been discussing election day protocols with the Supervisor of Elections. I am sure that the National Monitoring and Consultative Mechanism and the representatives of the respective
We now bring you this international report.
Earlier today, Attorney General Dana...
After a thwarted attempt to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, U.S. President Donald Trump used the moment to lash out at the governor Thursday night, accusing her of being ungrateful to his administration. 13 people, 7 of which were associated with an anti-government militia group called Wolverine Watchmen, were arrested on charges conspiring to kidnap her ahead of next month's presidential election. At a news conference, Whitmer accused Trump of fomenting political extremism. Trump hit back and accused the governor of having done a, quote, terrible job. His tweet read, "My Justice Department and federal law enforcement announced today that they foiled a dangerous plot against the governor of Michigan. Rather than say thank you, she calls me a white supremacist." Whitmer has been a frequent Trump target for her efforts to enforce social distancing measures. And on Thursday, she slammed Trump's comments at last week's presidential debate when the president deflected an opportunity to condemn white supremacist groups.
When our leaders meet with, encourage, or fraternize with domestic terrorists, they legitimize their actions, and they are complicit.
Earlier, U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Michigan, Andrew Burge, detailed the botched plot to abduct Whitmer, attack the state capitol building, and violently overthrow Michigan's government, an operation FBI agents became aware of on social media. Internal U.S. security memos in recent months have warned that violent domestic extremists could pose a threat to election-related targets.
That was the WinFM Headline News, brought to you by KDP Enterprises, Caribbean Alliance, Carib Brewery, CNC Trading, The Grange.
Without limits, happy and free. The skin you're in with no apology. The one to seize the day. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. With LLB. Live, love, be. Live, love, be. Be who you know you can be. Grab an LLB. Live, love, be. Angostura, lemon, lime, and bitters. Live, love, be.
Shipping your cargo shouldn't be a hassle. It can be as easy as a single call to Amerijet International, your worldwide cargo transportation solution. We provide all the services you need to ship your goods anywhere in the world. Whether your shipment is fresh, frozen, large or small, alive or hazardous, you can count on Amerijet to deliver it safe and sound. Amerijet International, by land, sea or air. We get it there. For more information, visit us online at www.amerijet.com or call us at KDP Enterprises, telephone number 466-9595.
Did you know that the Grange Healthcare Facility is the first purpose-built non-governmental healthcare organization on St. Kitts, offering 24-hour nursing, therapeutic, and residential care for older adults? It's situated at Otley, 7 miles east of Vastair in beautifully landscaped surroundings. The Grange has a team of highly trained professionals and provides care that's rated as being comparable with UK and North American standards. The Grange offers varied accommodation to suit your individual needs, and our all-inclusive packages make the cost of care per hour the most competitive on the island. Services include convalescent care for all ages, daycare facilities for older adults, rehabilitation services, and training and continuing education for healthcare providers. For more information, call 466-5525 or 465-8020, fax 466-8221, or email thegrangehealth@gmail.com, or visit our website at www.grangehealthcarefacility.com.
Protect your lifestyle with Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Dealing well with a local reputation and service for second to none. Securing you is our mission. People that you can trust, your business, property, we got you covered. Motor or personal, whatever it is, we got you covered. 130 years in this business, we got you covered. For all your insurance needs, visit or call us at 465-2631 or 469-5303. Dealey Walwyn, people you can trust.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib, it's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Do you know your indoor air quality? Did you know that mold and bacteria particles are floating in the air you breathe and can cause illnesses? Steam can purify all indoor surface areas. Steam and air purification will allow you to breathe easy. Breathe Easy is the name of a business which promotes pure indoor air quality, offering professional sanitization service for residential, commercial, industrial, and public spaces. The air quality will be tested prior and post-service. Our team will delicately scrub your air so you can breathe easy. Call today for assessments and bookings at 667-0557 or 765-4925. So give us a call and breathe easy.
A tropical wave is affecting the Leeward Islands and British Virgin Islands. It could heighten the chances for cloudiness and showers across the islands today and tonight. Possible rainfall total for the forecast period is 0.2 to 0.4 inches. Today, cloudy with a 70% or high chance of showers and a 30% or low chance of thunderstorms. Tonight, partly cloudy with a 50% or moderate chance of showers. Winds east at 5 to 10 knots. Seas 1.0 to 1.2 meters or 3 to 4 feet. Sunset today will be at 5:53 p.m. Sunrise tomorrow at 6:03 a.m. That's your weather forecast for today. Comes with the kind compliments of Breathe Easy.
Do you know your indoor air quality? Did you know that mold and bacteria particles are floating in the air you breathe and can cause illnesses? Steam can purify all indoor surface areas. Steam and air purification will allow you to breathe easy. Breathe Easy is the name of a business which promotes pure indoor air quality, offering professional sanitization service for residential, commercial, industrial, and public spaces. The air quality will be tested prior and post-service. Our team will delicately scrub your air so you can breathe easy. Call today for assessments and bookings at 667-0557 or 765-4925. So give us a call and breathe easy.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Voices here on 98.9 Win FM. And we have some beautiful and intelligent ladies here joining us to have a very meaningful discussion on mental health. We have Dr. Ward Crawford, we have Miss Jacobs, and we have Dr. Stanley. And the topic for today is mental health for all. Greater investment, greater access, everyone, everywhere. I want to emphasize that. Everyone, everywhere. So we are going to continue this discussion and we're going to, go more in depth about mental health because I believe it's a very broad topic and there are a lot of things to talk about in mental health. So we can have any one of you recommence.
Okay, everyone was just looking at me trying to see who would go first. One of the things we definitely wanted to talk about, I touched on it briefly because the theme last year was suicide prevention, but I don't think it's something we can stop talking about. Suicide prevention is something that we need to engage in regularly. Suicide ideation, those are the thoughts of suicide. As Dr. Crawford says, it's something that we come across very regularly in our practice, and Dr. Stanley agrees, where people think about suicide. It's very common for people to have thoughts about not wanting to live anymore, and it is crucial that people who are thinking about these things talk to a professional, because we are going to be able to make assessments, do screenings that will further determine whether or not this person is at risk. So suicide ideation, very common, but we do want to encourage the public to take people talking about suicide very seriously. Sometimes we feel like if someone is talking about it, they're not going to do it. And most times when people do commit suicide, they have actually spoken about it with somebody. So we want people to really look for the signs where people are being more withdrawn, where they're making final preparations for things, where they're doing increasingly riskier things. So very common to think about, but I do want to really encourage people to reach out if they're struggling. Maybe reach out to a family or friend, but this is why we talk to the public, because if someone talks to you about it and you realize that this person is really struggling, you should encourage them to see a professional. And maybe it doesn't have to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Go to a doctor, go to a nurse. This person is going to be able to point you in the right direction. And in these times, especially, a lot of people are struggling with a lot of loss, right? Loss of job, loss of income. Yes. And sometimes, Trinidadians say sometimes water is more than flour, right? You're trying to mix things and there's just too much water and you can't get it in and you just, the dough not coming together and you think it's never going to come. And this might be a little trite, but I've often heard that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
It is. Yes.
Wow. Definitely is.
Yes.
That's deep. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I really want to encourage people, talk, reach out. And so when your friend reaches out to you, even if you hear it 20 times already, just listen to them, because they need someone to be there, and they need your support.
And when people talk about suicide, sometimes, as Ms. Jacobs said, okay, they would be talking about they no longer want to live, there's no hope, there's no solution to their problems, things like that. However, sometimes even before they even reach that stage at times, sometimes you hear them starting having these recurrent thoughts about death. So it's not that they're saying, okay, I want to die, I want to take my life. You might hear them talking, okay, what if I cross the street, and I get, hit by a bus, and I die? Or what if I go to this activity and I die? They start having these kind of thoughts. And then, you have these suicidal thoughts, as Ms. Jacobs said. And then you might hear them talking about suicidal thoughts, ideations, and they somewhat have a plan. Okay, so you might hear them say, I'm going to hang myself, I'm going to do this specific thing to myself that would definitely harm myself. So they have somewhat of a plan. And sometimes when they have a plan, you would see them start to do the preparatory work. So you would find that they start putting things in order, their life in order, etc. And then we have another group of persons who would have what we call suicidal attempts, or we refer to them also as deliberate self-harm. And these are persons who you find would be doing things that they know would definitely harm themselves. So, for example, these are persons who you would find might take some medication overdose. These are persons who would find might drink something that they know that is going to be hazardous for their health, etc. So we have to look out, because suicide, they come in different forms, they present themselves differently. But however the person presents themselves, whether it's directly saying they have a plan, or just saying, okay, they feel like there's no hope for the situation, they want to leave this earth, is to be taken seriously. Okay? We don't want people to think of it as, it's attention. Mm-hmm.
They're just looking at attention.
They're just looking at attention. No, we don't want people.
So often say.
Yeah, okay. We want people to take it seriously and, refer them to get help. And as Ms. Jacobs said, okay, it could be a nurse, it could be a doctor, because at the end of the day, they would be linked with the right professional.
So we're talking about suicide prevention.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the preventative measures that, as a professional, you would take to assist persons who are thinking about suicide? Anyone could touch
Okay,
this topic?
let me go back a little bit and then answer your question.
Okay.
Yeah, because I realized you wanted to chime in. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
sure, go ahead.
Yes,
Perfect.
yes.
And
Jacobs.
Zara, they have said a mouthful, but of course it's just to add here and there as to exactly, suicide and about suicidals. Now, what is suicide? All right, it's just an act of intentionally causing one's own death. Can we think about that? It's an act of intentionally causing one's own death. Now, that's something that's beyond words. You would want to put harm to yourself. Why? Something must be going on. Something must be messing with your normal well-being that you feel whatever is happening, it can only be dealt with through death. That person needs help. That individual needs help. Now, some signs definitely, all patients would not exhibit the same signs, but generally, patients mostly begin with a little depression. All right, they start out being depressed, and as Dr. Crawford was saying, they begin with the if. What if I do this? What if I run my car into that tree? What if I run my car into that wall? What would happen? All right, now, there are two different phases, and there are two different ways. The mind that can cope, all right, goes over to the side and says, your problems will go away. All right? Sorry, the mind that can cope, all right, would say your problems would go away and everything would be fine if you do that. The mind that can cope would say, no, you have a family. You have children. All right? There are persons who will be sad if you leave. All right? Now, these patients, the ones that can cope, from this stage, they go into acting stage. All right, and this is the stage where they do whatever sort of act in order to bring suicide near. All right, now, whether they slit their wrist, whether they begin to take medication as a form of overdosing, all right, whether they try to find ways and means to hang themselves, this is a different stage. All right, now here, this stage here, patients can be pulled back once it is detected, and patients can be assisted. All right. Now this is the stage where the patient has gone through depression. They're thinking about it. Some of them tried it, and for example, a family member of yours is telling you how they've been sad, they've lost their work in COVID time, and you see them depressed. You see them not getting up, not sleeping well enough, not eating, and then they've been talking about suicide, and they're just happy. Without receiving any help, they're just happy. Now, that happiness is a false happiness. Mm-hmm. This means that they're ready. And they start to make plans, whether it be secret plans or whether it be plans made known to yourself. They start to make plans. They start to do wills. And these are just signs that, the general public need in order to detect suicide within our homes, within our jobs, normal, within our communities. You understand? Mm-hmm. And these patients are ready. They're ready to go. They've already accepted that I can't deal with this problem. This problem is more than I am, and this is usually what they tell you. And I'm ready. And they've already have everything planned. They have their dates. They have their funerals planned. And this is the stage where you have to run. This is the stage where you must get help in order to assist your family member, friend, or whoever the person is. All right? And we're here talking about suicide, and it may seem as it's something very simple, but it's actually something very complex.
Yes.
It is.
Something very complex. And it's always sad to hear that someone might have taken their lives because they had some situation that when inadvertently no one knew about it, or no one really took them as seriously as they should have been taken. And we have to do something about that. It must change. And we must, for example, I know I worked in A&E before I went to psychiatry, and I would always, when patients come and say, Doc, I feel like I want to, I would take them seriously. I'm never the one to say, she's looking at attention. She's looking at attention, but yes, for what? Because maybe it's attention, but for what reason? So we always fix that. All right? and zoom in on exactly what's happening with the patient, and then and there we could provide some assistance and see how far we can get.
Dr. Stanley, I was just going to say some of the language they're trying to shift from saying seeking attention to seeking connection, right? So yes, they do want something, but they want to connect. They don't want to put on a show. They want to actually connect with you, and that's why they value your openness when they share their things with them. So thank you on behalf of your patients.
Okay, and there are some risk factors that we can look for. But it's not clear cut to say, okay, because the person present this way, it means that, okay, it's just general stuff that we can look out for. And we look out for things like persons who would have had previous suicidal attempts. Because if they have done it before, then it's possible that they can do it again. Because sometimes it almost comes as, how they cope. They're doing difficulty, they're having some difficulty, they're having challenges, and they hurt themselves. Okay? We also look for a family history of suicide and suicide behavior. We tend to look for these as risk factors. Whenever there's exposure to other suicides, we look for that. So if in their country there's been a suicide case and, it's on social media, it's all over the place, we have to look out to see if we have persons presenting with suicidal thoughts. And as I say, we have to take them seriously. It's not about copycat or anything like that. We have what we call suicide contagion. Okay? And then there are some people who hurt themselves, but they don't want to die, but they hurt themselves. Because what happens, physical pain temporarily, and is a negative way of coping. Physical pain, it temporarily blocks emotional pain. And you would find persons cutting themselves just to get that physical pain to help, have a release from all that they're going through emotionally. But the problem with that is that sometimes they don't mean to really, really, really harm themselves. But when you're taking these kinds of risks, the possibility is that you can really harm yourself and you can die for sure.
Exactly.
Okay, and then we have to look out for persons with mental health difficulties, and Dr. Stanley spoke about depression, because in depression, one of the symptoms, is the recurrent thoughts about death and suicide, etc. And also in depression, we have that hopelessness feeling too as another symptom of depression. And a lot of times when people reach the state of thinking about wanting to die, etc., it's because they feel like, okay, there's no hope. There's no other resolution to what I'm going to, but to just kill myself. So we have to look out for persons who have these mental health difficulties. We have to look out for persons who have impulsive tendencies too, because it's not always the depression that causes people to harm themselves. Sometimes people get so angry and they get so aggressive, and sometimes they might put the violence outwards on others, where they might be aggressive with others, or sometimes the violence is turned inward towards themselves, and that's when they end up and harm themselves. Okay, we want to look out for persons who have easy access to lethal weapons too. We have to be careful with that, because if they have suicidal thoughts and they have easy access to lethal weapons, if they do decide one day, it's they can really harm themselves because they already have the weapon.
And sometimes we have to think about weapon in a broad sense of things, right? Because lethal means could include things like, drugs. So, sorry, doctors and dentists, but you all have access to things. But even farmers have access to things, right? Like, so there's so many people who have access to things that can be lethal. Sometimes we only think about guns, but it's all other things,
lethal
right?
methods, yes.
So I see anything could be lethal.
Lethal.
Anyway, give this pen.
I'm scared now. Dr. Stanley might help me. She picked it up.
So, I mean, with suicide prevention, you have those persons who are going through a lot and they are afraid to speak up, again, because of the stigma. And they would probably talk to a family member or a friend, and they're going to be like, well, I'm going through something, and they might even mention that they have intentions of committing suicide, but it is how they do it. They do it in a way that you would think that they're making a joke. And then you have the family member or a friend, probably just brush it off like, this person just making a joke. I can only assume that 75% of the victims of suicide were probably in a situation like that. What do you have to say about that?
Mm-hmm. As we said before, okay, we don't take it lightly when somebody say, they want to harm themselves, because we know there are a lot of times we say things and we say we're joking, but we really mean them. So okay, we really mean them. We're with friends and we throw out a little word and say it's joke I'm making, but we really mean them. And sometimes, as Miss Jacobs said, maybe a person just trying it out to see their reaction.
Yeah.
Okay, they might be looking for some sort to connect, but the person just okay. They're looking for the reaction. It could be a cry for help, because the as I said, it's not so clear cut how these risk factors present themselves. People can be creative. So somebody could say, I feel like killing myself, but really and truly they're looking to see, what is it that my friend is going to say? Can they say something to me to just make me feel better? So all jokes, whether it's come in a form of a joke or it comes as a serious talk, we think that is very serious. It's very serious.
Yes, and as the listening ear on the other end, we must always be positive in response, and we must always try to get help. Whether it may be coming to the hospital, just looking for someone, Dr. Crawford, everyone knows her name. Just get some help.
And Mrs. Sarah Jacobs, everybody knows her name.
Right. Dr. Sarah, come on, get some help. Especially in trying economic times like these. As Zara so rightfully said, many persons have experienced loss, whether it be loss of their jobs. It's just the corona hit us really hard, and I can't deny that. And let's be frank, all right. And it's quite normal for persons to go through things, to have thoughts going through their minds. That's normal human. It's just normal. It's a normal human thought process. But what you do about it says a lot. All right. And if you can't deal with it, if there's an inability to deal with such, then we can help you.
And it ties into what we were saying before. You do have those persons who they think that they may be dubbed as being weak if they, say that they're going through something. But it's important for them to understand that we're human beings and we all go through things. And sometimes you never know, maybe it's for your better, because you go through this experience and you learn from that experience and it makes you a better person. But at the end of the day, if you believe that you need some assistance or some help in whatever you're going through, you could always give one of these lovely ladies a call. Dr. Crawford, Dr. Stanley, and Miss Jacobs.
And nothing is wrong with being weak. Nothing is wrong with being weak at all, because it's through your weaknesses where you'll find your strength. All right? So you just have to just look past all of that. Of course, we remain confidential, definitely. You just come on out, say you need to speak, you need some time, even if it's just 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it may be, we'll assist you. And you need to get help for those persons who you think need assisting.
We don't want people to, you could try, and people want to say, let me see if I could do it by myself. And you could try. And we have persons who might want to use substances to soothe them. The increase in alcohol, the increase in marijuana use, etc. But these are negative ways of trying to cope. Because at the end of the day, when the substances leave in their body, the same feelings are still there. Okay, the same feelings, they return and they are still there. So we want to be able to help people to get at the core of the issues so that they can get the help they need.
I also want to include that I often speak to so many young people who share that they themselves are thinking about suicide or their friends are thinking about suicide, and people rally behind their friends. So, they talk about going over to their friend so their friend won't be alone, or staying up with them all night so they won't be alone. And people want to support their friends, but I also want to be mindful. It's a lot for you to take on. It's a lot of responsibility, especially young people. We want to be for our friends, we want to keep it private, but sometimes we have to get adults involved, people aware of what is going on, because there's so much secrecy around it, but there needs to be more support than just what you, one person, can provide.
So we will be taking some calls shortly. Do you have any other remarks that you would like to add? Anyone?
Right, just definitely to spread across to the general public. There's no need to feel that you're alone. There's no need to feel that we can't assist you. There's no need to feel that nothing can be done. We're here. We're waiting for you to come. We'll listen. Just take that step, take that leap of step, and come on out and get some assistance, Life is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to live.
Yes.
Let us help you. Let us show you that.
Yes. Any word from you, Dr. Crawford?
Sure. I agree with what Dr. Stanley is saying, and I just want to remind the general public that, yes, there are services out there to help them. We have the JNF Psychological Services, where you can call JNF and get an appointment. You can see myself. We have the Counseling Center, where we have Miss Blake, Mistress Blake, we have Zara, etc. there, and Mr. Francis there. We also have the Community Psychiatric Services, where we have Dr. Stanley and Dr. Sanchez there, and we have the Accident and Emergency and the inpatient services at JNF also. So we just want persons to feel comfortable and know that whatever they say to us, we would hold in strict confidence. Okay, we really want to make a difference. We want to have a healthy nation.
Awesome. So at this time, we're going to open the phone lines, and we're going to ask persons to call in and chime in on this very, very important topic: mental health for all, greater investment, greater access, everyone, everywhere. That's the topic for today. So call in and share your views and ask. Let me say as many questions, because we have some lovely professional ladies here who are quite versed and experienced on this topic of mental health, and they will be able to provide you with some extensive knowledge related to the topic, because we as I would have said before, there is indeed a stigma, not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but across the Caribbean and worldwide. Persons tend to think that if you're going through something, or if you have an issue, they probably dub you as being crazy, and they even talk about that crazy injection that when I was growing up, I thought that, oh my God, this only called a crazy injection. So it's a stigma, and people tend to look down on those persons who are going through something, not realizing that, in my opinion, it's normal, because you're human beings. And sometimes, even if you try to be happy, you try to brush it aside. You're going through something, but you tell yourself, I won't let that keep me down. I won't let that get control of me. But at the same time, even if you're trying to be strong, seeking professional assistance, or even talking to a friend, don't be afraid to talk about it, because we have those persons who are really going through some hard times, and they are afraid to talk about it. And if you ask me, that adds to making it worse. So taking that simple first step of just saying something to a close friend, a close family, because as I would have said before, you do have those persons who they don't want to, really come to, you guys as the doctors first. They want to take the baby steps. They want to talk to a friend. They want to talk to a relative. and then that relative or friend would refer them to the professionals. So we are still waiting for those calls to come in and ask those questions. Like I believe that when those calls come in, they're gonna come in real hot. So, but we could continue this discussion, and if you have anything else to chime in and to add to what we're talking about here today, because I think it's a broad topic. So apart from suicide and suicide prevention, some other aspects of mental health, and mental health is not just trying to help people who are dubbed, I don't want to use that word, but crazy. But mental health is quite broad. Anything that you guys would like to add?
Something that I would like to add, and that I've realized since I became a part of the
team,
the mental illness team, is that a lot of the patients who have mental illnesses, the issue is with them is that family structure is lacking. So I want to take this opportunity while I'm here on the radio station, all those who are listening to me, and all those who are out there on the internet, on the phones. If you have a family member who suffers from mental illness, sometimes we tend to say, she know what she doing, let she go. No, let us tend to move away from that sort of stigma and get into the light that these persons are actually ill. And some of the actions that they may do is something that is not a part of their will. It's something that they can't control. It's involuntary. So if you look at it that way, and if we do a little bit more research as well, as to exactly what is mental illness and how we can deal with family members and friends who have this illness, then we would be doing a favor to most of these persons, because one of the main ways into getting back to wellness, a normal wellness, I may say, is family structure. All right, and that's very, very, very vital and very, very important. So we need you guys. It takes a community. So just like how it takes a community with a child, it takes a community to deal with mental illness, a patient who has mental illness. So I would like to ask, I would like to plead to the general public as to not so discriminate and push aside these patients, but to embrace them and bring them to the forefront and let them know that, you are loved. You are loved, you are needed, and we're here for you. All right?
Thank you. You said something very important. You have those persons who come across people who, what should I say, they're going through some sort of mental illness, and you would say, this person is just pretending, as you were saying, they're looking attention, they're just putting on a show, where in fact they're not. They're actually going through something, but we take it as a joke, and we're like, oh, this person just putting on something. And that individual may have a number of relatives, and they themselves put it on the back burner and say, he's looking attention and he is putting on a show. So I'm happy that you took the opportunity to plead to those persons, to if you have family members who are going through some sort of mental illness, to encourage them or to help them seek professional assistance, because at the end of the day, you would want to hear that this person becomes another victim of suicide or anything like that, or even trying to harm themselves or something like that. But again, the phone lines are open. The phone lines are open, so call in and chime in on this topic. I think persons are a bit afraid. They probably don't know what to ask.
That's right there.
They probably don't know what to ask, so they're a bit afraid, and they don't want to ask the wrong question, because, as I said, this is a touchy topic, so sometimes you have to be, so careful of, the words that you choose. But if we get no calls, I think it's time that we'll wrap up, because we are approaching the 1 o'clock hour, or we're after 1 actually. So
Yeah, Miss Desire had something she
You
wanted,
wanted to add something?
to add. If that is okay.
I was just
fine.
piggybacking on what
Absolutely
Dr. Stanley said. When you have a family member who is struggling with a mental illness that is severe, it's hard work.
It is.
It is hard work. And I know that's why it's so easy for us to be like, oh, they're willful. Because if they're willful, we don't have to do anything. And I mean, so as Dr. Stanley says, we recognize you, we see you, we know the path ahead is long and hard. But the same way, if we had a family member who lost a leg, we would try and find a way to work as a team to support them. You know, the erratic behavior cannot be easy, especially day to day. But, you know, it really takes the teamwork, as you said, of the family, of the community. And again, as we talked about buy-in, like everyone needs to support everyone. Like it takes all of us to make a difference for mental health.
Awesome. So as we close, do we have any closing remarks from Dr. Stanley and Dr. Ward Crawford?
We want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and talk about mental health, because we would like to raise the awareness of these mental health issues so persons could feel comfortable coming forth and accessing the services that we have. As I said before, there's no health without mental health. So if you could have all the things that you want, material stuff, and you could have all the physical health, but if your mind is not at peace and not at ease, you're not gonna be living having any quality of life per se. So it's very important, the topic of mental health, and we urge persons to make sure that they do things on a daily basis that would help to enhance and boost their mental well-being.
Dr. Stanley?
Right, most definitely. Thank you for the opportunity to be here on air. I wish we could have more opportunities.
Now we know, Dr. Stanley, you'll get the call.
Even if I can't make it. Dr. Kwame is here to assist, and I'm sure they would do a very wonderful job. But yes, seriously, definitely mental health, and I would say every specialist always say that their speciality is the most important. But as Dr. Crawford just said, and she couldn't have said it any better, if you do not have mental health, you could have anything else. You could have all the money, you could have all the materialistic stuff. What use is it to you? All right, so I think our speciality is number one. And I do think that and I do think that it needs to be placed on the front burner and keep burning.
Oh yes,
more often. And I do think it needs to be taken more seriously by the general population. And I hope I hope a lot of you are listening today, and I hope a lot of you are understanding. And if you need more information, you can, Google is always famous, but you can come to the hospital and just ask some questions. Somebody, I'm sure, would be excited to assist you in whatever it is. This year's theme it covers a lot, and it's quite adequate for all that we've been going through this year. And I definitely hope that we can do justice to such a big heading this year. I hope we can.
For all.
Definitely hope we
for
can.
all. Great investment.
Right, and just go out there and spread the word of mental health. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Stanley. It was indeed a privilege to have you here, because apart from those persons who were listening, it was an educational session for me, because I learned a lot of things today, and it was an opportunity for persons to have a greater appreciation and a greater understanding of mental health and mental illness. So we here at WinFM, we thank you for being here on Voices and providing some insight as to a number of things that you guys do in the association. And thank you. Thank you for presenting on this topic of mental health for all. Greater investment, greater access, everyone, everywhere. Thank you so much, and
You're welcome.
I'll be right back.
Thank you.
It's the Hartsford's Building Center's Very Good Electrical and Plumbing Fixture Sales Event, happening now until October 31st. All electrical and plumbing fittings will be discounted by 25%. 25%.
This is very good.
That's right, 25% off all electrical and plumbing fixtures, happening now until October 31st. The Very Good Electrical and Plumbing Fixture Sales Event at Hartsford's Building Centers on St. Kitts and Nevis. Very good products, very good prices, very good discounts on all electrical and plumbing fixtures at Hartsford's Building and Nevis Centers, happening now.
This is very good.
See store for details. It's the Hartsford's Independent Sales Drive for the months of September to October. Hartsford's Automotive will be on their biggest sales drive for 2020. Come to Hartsford's Automotive in the months of September and October and drive away with up to $30,000 discount on select models. Your choice of either free gas for 3 months or up to $1,000 in free groceries. 50% discount on VAT. Yup, for the months of September and October, pay just 8.5% on VAT. Free servicing for 1 year. Free bill of sale. Free registration, licensing, and tinting. 0 down payment. That's right. Absolutely no down payment. And much, much more. It's the Hartsford's Independent Sales Drive. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Good afternoon, caller. You're on Voices.
Hello?
Good afternoon, caller. You're on
Yes,
Voices.
good afternoon. Are your panelists still there?
They just left.
Oh,
They
they
just
left.
left.
Oh,
Yes.
they are. Okay.
But you can still, share what you have to share.
Well, I guess fools rushing where angels fear to tread, right? My questions really had to do with the diagnosis and the prevention and intervention. First of all, I would have liked to have known how common it is, okay? And can we afford to ignore it? I mean, we have, for instance, vehicular accidents. We try as best to prevent them, but we know that they're going to occur. But at the same time, we try to keep them to a minimum, but we know we can live with, 1% or 0.5% of people getting in accidents. And that determines, I guess, how much resources are going to be thrown at the problem. And the other question is, how early can it be identified? For instance, children in school routinely screened for it because maybe it can be confused with other conditions like autism and that sort of thing, right? And the other thing was, I've spoken to a doctor. I spoke to a doctor who, in ordinary conversation, who said that despite all the exotic medications and so on that psychiatrists have, they are useless. That might have been his personal opinion. So I just wanted an idea of the, what the panelists thought of the efficacy of the medications that are prescribed, and if in fact we can actually intervene more successfully in cases where mental illness mental illness is evident? You know, those were the questions I had. But unfortunately, I guess you would not be able to answer them.
No.
But, yeah. Okay. All right.
Thank you so much, caller, for sharing your views. I'm so sorry that you missed the professionals here because they were really, anticipating the calls because they had a lot to share. And I could only imagine you had a few persons out there. We have a few persons out there who would have wanted to ask, so many questions because this topic of mental health is a very touchy topic, and you are going to have those persons who, looking for more information about mental health. How does one get diagnosed with mental illness, and some of the preventative measures that one can take to safeguard themselves from, becoming a victim of mental illnesses and all of that. And then we had the lovely ladies here speaking about suicide prevention, but I would not be able to talk about or go in depth rather about the specifics due to the fact that I'm not a medical professional, but I'm sure that we will have these ladies back on the show to provide some insight and to provide some more information to our listening public. So this is Voices for Friday, October 9th, 2020 here on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius, and I am going to now welcome some calls because we're going to wrap up in the next 15 minutes. So for the next 15 minutes, we're going to have an open discussion because for the latter part, for the morning part of the show, we had the discussion on mental health. So for the next 15 minutes, we're just going to open the phone lines. I'm going to allow persons to call in and touch on any topic that you would want to touch on because this is Voices. So you're calling and let your voice be heard. And you weighing on any topic that you would want to let the general public know about. Yesterday we were having a very good discussion about Carnival and whether we should have Carnival and the plans that are in place for Carnival. And you had a lot of people talking about, whether Carnival should be cancelled or whether Carnival should take a different approach or something like that. And I also would want to, talk about the reopening of our borders. It's a much talk about topic, of course, but it is something that we really have to prepare ourselves for. Sometime ago I was at the airport, sometime early this week rather, I was at the airport, and a number of works are ongoing at the airport for the preparation of when the passengers return here to St. Kitts and Nevis. And so they are constructing a medical center at the airport. They are constructing a welcome center, and they're putting in place a number of measures, to safeguard employees as well as passengers and all persons who will use the RLB International Airport. And so the Ministry of Tourism, Transport and Ports, in collaboration with SCASP and the other relevant authorities, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, they are taking the necessary steps to make sure that our federation is adequately prepared to handle the inflow of passengers to when we reopen our borders come month end, October 31st. So a lot of things are really happening. I think the Minister, the Honorable Lindsey Grant, did indicate that the retrofitting works would cost close to 2 million EC dollars, and I think that's a very good investment because you're not investing in something that is not necessary. You're investing in something that would help to protect the citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so I think it's a very good approach, and I think the government is doing the right thing in that part, in terms of making sure that St. Kitts and Nevis is prepared for when the borders reopen. Of course, you're going to have some mistakes. People are going to make mistakes, and you can only learn from your mistake. But as I would have said some time back, I think this is a personal responsibility thing. And you would have to play your part in making sure that you're safe from the COVID-19. You would have to play your part. You wash your hands, you wear your mask, you do social distancing, and you follow the protocols. And that is how you are going to safeguard yourself from contracting the COVID-19 virus. Because we can't really depend on others. We can't really depend on the private sector and government and all of this. It would have to be a personal responsibility to make sure that you and your family, of course, are safe from the COVID-19 virus. So again, the lines are open. We have just a few minutes left. We're just going to take a short break right now, and we will be back in a few minutes.
It's the Hartsford's Building Center's Very Good Electrical and Plumbing Fixture Sales Event, happening now until October 31st. All electrical and plumbing fittings will be discounted by 25%. 25%.
This is very good.
That's right, 25% off all electrical and plumbing fixtures, happening now until October 31st. The Very Good Electrical and Plumbing Fixture Sales Event at Hartsford's Building Centers on St. Kitts and Nevis. Very good products, very good prices, very good discounts on all electrical and plumbing fixtures at Hartsford's Building and Nevis Centers, happening now.
This is very good.
See store for details. It's the Hartsford's Independent Sales Drive for the months of September to October. Hartsford's Automotive will be on their biggest sales drive for 2020. Come to Hartsford's Automotive in the months of September and October and drive away with up to $30,000 discount on select models. Your choice of either free gas for 3 months or up to $1,000 in free groceries. 50% discount on VAT. Yup, for the months of September and October. Pay just 8.5% on VAT. Free servicing for 1 year. Free bill of sale. Free registration, licensing, and tinting. 0 down payment. That's right. Absolutely no down payment. And much, much more. It's the Hartsford's Independent Sales Drive. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Voices here on WinFM 98.9. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius. So as we are wrapping up, I just want to mention that last night, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, he announced Election Day, polling day in SVG, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, for Thursday, November 5th, 2020. So the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will be heading to the polls to elect a new government. The Prime Minister was at the time speaking at an event last night where he said he was advised, in consultation, of course, with the Governor General, that the House has been dissolved as of today, Friday, October 9th. Just some data here. The last election in St. Vincent and the Grenadines was December 9th of 2015. At that time, they had just about in the region of 89,000 people voting. And you would have seen a voter turnout of 73.37%. And now they have more than 90,000 people who would be eligible to cast their vote in the 15 constituencies in St. Vincent. You have the ruling party. I think this is a very interesting name, though. The Unity Labour Party, ULP, as the ruling party in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And you have the main opposition party, which is the New Democratic Party, NDP. You have the other opposition parties, such as the Democratic Republican Party, as well as the SVG Green Party. The ULP is, of course, is the sitting government. They have majority of the seats in the House, 8 seats, and the main opposition has 7 seats. So, of course, the ULP has its 1 seat lead there. The other parties, of course, have no seats in the election, in the House, sorry. As I would have said before, the voter turnout at that time was 73.37. And what I would have realized, following Caribbean elections, I find that the voter turnout in those countries, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica, they're higher, or they're more than St. Kitts and Nevis and Jamaica. Jamaica voter turnout was extremely low. I think it was the lowest they've ever seen in years. I guess it's because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Many persons had that fear of contracting the virus, and even here in St. Kitts and Nevis, even with our borders being closed, persons did not go out to vote because of the fear, of contracting the COVID-19 virus. And so election day in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is November 5th, 2020. And right in that time frame, you have the U.S. gearing up for elections. When I woke up sometime this morning, I was on Facebook and I saw people talking about some earthquake that took place early this morning, just 12:15 this morning. And other countries were rattled by this earthquake. I think it was Antigua and Barbuda, St. Martin, Anguilla, Guadeloupe. And so we had an earthquake here in St. Kitts and Nevis around 12:14 a.m. on Friday today. And it was a magnitude of 5.1, according to the UA Seismic Research Center. And the earthquake was felt 82 kilometers northeast of SKN, and the quake was located at latitude 17.97 north and longitude 62.44 west at a depth of 10 kilometers. The other countries who would have felt this earthquake was Antigua and Barbuda, St. Martin, Anguilla, and Guadeloupe. And so, usually when these things happen, people ask, you feel it? Because I was like, what earthquake they're talking about? I ain't feeling an earthquake. And then people were saying that they were home and they were up and they felt the earthquake. But we have a call here in Voices. Good afternoon, caller. You're in Voices.
Coincidentally, yesterday was the anniversary of maybe the highest magnitude of an earthquake we had here in 1974.
Yes.
Yeah, the 8th October, 8 minutes to 6. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember it very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very well. I must admit I wasn't so acquainted with how they register it in terms of the figure you gave there a while ago, the magnitude. But I want to believe it was worse than, just to highlight the point, I believe it was worse than last night because a good chunk of the road in Challengers had fell in. Luckily, no vehicle was on the road at that time. Yeah, in 74. And I remember it very clearly. Yeah, you could, if the program had a little more to go, I'm sure people will call in and confirm that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, man.
But did you feel the one from last night?
Yeah, I felt it. I was in church the morning, and if I tell you I had to jump the railing of the building to get out, I know you want to run down the steps. I jumped the railing, I tell you, when I landed on my 2 feet, and I look and I see how buildings twisting and turning. Boy, I tell you, the afternoon, I used to play ball those days, football.
Yes.
And we down the recreation ground, and every now and again you feel the ground shaking. If you should stand up, once you stood up, boy, you had some how you call tremors after.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly every half an hour or so. I was afraid to go home. No, this ain't a joke.
But they had I think they had an earth tremor just the other day, because we were here in the office and my coworker said he was shaking, but I didn't feel it because. Huh?
I have experienced them. Well, about 3 years ago, I remember I was in a building and I could feel the thing, but they are saying the best place to run is under the lintel of the door.
Yes.
Yeah, they said that's the best place to go. I remember running out of my seat and going on the door. Yeah, about 3 years ago. I remember we had a good one about 3 years ago. But I am telling you, that one, I don't have the record. You could get the information right now if they would have it recorded. But it was a serious thing, I tell you.
Wow.
Okay, man, okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for providing that information for us. And, as I was saying, it's just the other day we were here and my coworker was saying he felt the desk shaking and he's shaking. So he thought that his heart was beating fast. But we didn't feel anything because I was deep into the computer. And it's only after the fact he realized that it was an earthquake. And I was talking to somebody this morning and they said they actually felt the concrete house shaking. And the dogs were barking because they felt the movement and everything. I was fast asleep, so I went on early this morning or last night. But I think that's quite I don't even want to say alarming, but interesting to know. And as the caller would have said, there was a serious earthquake back in 1974. And I'm sure he's not the only one who would have experienced that. So I know there are some persons out there. You could call in and provide some insight to that. So I just received some information here. So I hope that caller is listening. The quake in 74 was 7.5. 7.5 magnitude. Imagine that. The quake we experienced last night was 5.1. So that one in 94 was significantly greater. And what a coincidence that is, basically the anniversary, because the caller said it was October 8th, a Tuesday morning in 1974 when they felt that earthquake. That's a huge coincidence. But we're going to wrap up. We're going to wrap up. We're at the end of our show on Voices, 98.9 Win FM. Thank you to all of you who would have called and listened to the topic we had this morning about mental health. And our short discussion here about, the elections in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and, talking about the earthquake that took place last night, because everybody is talking about this earthquake. I remember getting up saying, you guys feel the earthquake? And I'm like, what earthquake? It got to be a boring, because I people are always talking about they feeling these earthquakes, and I never feel them. I never feel these earthquakes. But thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys so much for tuning in here to Win FM 98.9 for another edition of Voices. I'm your host, Devon Cornelius.
It's the Hawksworth Building Center's very good electrical and plumbing fixture sales event happening now until October